Alright guys, WebSoak here. Today we have the 53rd Street subway station on my custom lines. So, this is another station along the U line. If you guys were here since the previous world, you will know that the U line is not a new concept that I created for this world. I'd created it based off of a different line that I created years ago called the O line. So, the O line went from Bayside to 2nd Avenue to Coney Island. But I couldn't do that because, well, you see, you can't make announcements for an O line if you wanted to use the real announcements. So I decided that it's going to be a U train instead because I can splice announcements for Avenue U. This was decided in the previous world. If you've seen any episodes from the previous world, which is now over a year ago because this world's over a year old now, then you would have seen a few stops along this line. And some things have changed even since the last episode on the P line. So the P is no longer going to Queens. The P will now be going to Houston Street. So the story is that there were budget cuts. Then it will go uptown to 96th Street, and it will be a crosstown line. So it's going to cross over. The other thing that I want to mention is I'm not going to be doing transfers on this service to real services because I want to leave the real system as its own replica. Then we're going to have the U line as its own separate thing. So I'm not going to be connecting any of the stations, so unfortunately there will not be any transfers. I did build a transfer initially, but I decided to remove it for that reason because I want to keep the real system just as more of a replica system and this one as a fictional thing, because this is really just one route and I don't want to change the whole map with a bunch of transfers to a fictional route. Alright, so let's get into this one. So here we have the station. So this is 53rd Street, 2nd Avenue. So it says P and U, so we have both of those here this time because this one's an express station. So exit northwest corner of 2nd Avenue and 53rd Street. Another sign over here, exit northeast corner of 2nd Avenue and 53rd Street. You can get a minecart here. Then you have entry for the U and the P. You can go in here. There's an emergency exit right there. Let's go down here. So downtown Brooklyn, U and P. And yes, I am intentionally saying U first. So exit 2nd Avenue, East 52nd Street, and East 53rd Street. Here's the route sign for the U. So the U is actually no longer Myrtle Avenue Express. So, I'll change it after. But yeah, this is a very recent change that I made. So again, the P is no longer going to Brooklyn, so the U is going to be local in other boroughs. So 2nd Avenue Express downtown in Brooklyn to Coney Island, Stillwell Avenue via Utica Avenue elevated. Stops on local track at night. And there you go, there's the U. You have the P over here, downtown to Houston Street, weekdays and weekends. U stops here at late night. U trains go local at night because it's an express service during the day, and the P will just be relegated as a late night shuttle. Okay, so this is a pretty cool station, I think. It has black pillars. You don't usually see that in the subway system. They're only present at 168th Street, Washington Heights. So you have them here. I put a cyanish azure tiled accent along the wall. Again, these are based off of I&D designs. So these are I&D stations, so you're going to be seeing an I&D look to them. I think I did it pretty well. You have the tiles. This is usually these two things right here are what you usually see in I&D stations. Those are the big giveaways. So right now there's no P train announcements. That's because I have to figure out a way to make Houston Street bound announcements for the P. But we do have U train announcements, so here they are. I'm using R143s for the U train because I think it's nice to give it something different than what we usually have, which are usually one of the R160s. So let's go into load.
This is a Brooklyn-bound U Express train. The next stop is 42nd Street.
So yeah, that one is spliced with the Q train. So that's pretty cool. So let's go over to the other side. Now on the other side, I did something a little different for the announcements. I made the announcements just say that it's a U train to Queens. I also used the R143 voice, but I decided to use the R160 voice on the southbound direction just because it sounded better with the announcement that I had picked. So, yeah. So, let's go over here. I'm just going to show you guys these. Yep, this one's good. So, Uptown and West Side, 2nd Avenue local. P to Broadway 96th Street, so it's across town, going across 96th Street. I think that's something that we do need in real life as well, so that was why I decided on 96th Street. I didn't do 125th Street because in real life they're planning to do that for the queue, so I didn't think it makes sense. So U stops here at late night. Then here we have Upper East Side and Queens. U to Bayside, Northern Boulevard, and Astoria Boulevard stops local track at late night. Again, this will no longer be going express here, so let's just change that so that it's understood that it's not going express. And I'll just remove the Astoria Boulevard thing. There we go. Alright, so it's not going express anymore in Queens or Brooklyn. So we'll just go down here so you can see this part of the platform. Exit other end of platform. More route signs right there. Alright. You can see down the tunnel over here. So there's some ramps over here. You can't see them, it's really dark, but I promise they're there. So you'll have to take my word for it that there are abandoned ramps over there. Those are just meant to add some, you know, a sense of history to the lines so that it feels like it's an actual line and not a fictional line. Because I wanted this route to feel as realistic as possible. So there's going to be things like that being done. So if we go over here, you can hear the Uptown U announcement. This one's pretty nice as well because it has the R143 voice for the next stop is. So I think that sounds cool.
This is a Queens-bound U train. The next stop is 72nd Street.
So yeah, I thought that sounds cool where it just says the next stop is in the old L voice. I'll do that again because that's just cool sounding.
This is a Queens-bound U train. The next stop is 72nd Street.
Let me know if I should use the old L voice for both directions, in fact. Alright, so we're going to exit out and finish the video. So exit 2nd Avenue, East 52nd Street we're going to this time instead of 53rd Street. Do note that these stations are not accessible, so there are no elevators in these stations. Now this isn't because I hate building elevators. I do, but I wanted to add some history to the station. And, you know, the MTA, they just didn't get the money to add the elevators yet. Nor the patience. So there's no elevators in U train stations because they didn't get the funding yet. Come on, guys, you gotta understand that with MTA, there can be differences in budgets at times. They might not always get the desired budget, so unfortunately the U train stations will not be wheelchair accessible because I hate building elevators. But yeah. Okay, so that's going to be it for this one, guys. We're here at 2nd Avenue and East 52nd Street. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, remember to click the subscribe button. I might be finishing up the M line soon because I want to have a full ride out. There's only about 6 stops, I believe, left on the M line. So I'm thinking of finishing that up. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. I am WebSoak, and I am out. Bye.